children, and welcome back to our online classes. Today we are going to learn something very exciting, that is about traveling, that is exploring and adventure. We are going to learn the chapter Emperors on Ice. So what are the traits of adventurers and explorers? We all love traveling, is it not? But when the travel is something exciting, we call it as an expedition, something unique. It's an adventure, and it's not very easy to go on adventure. So these adventurers or the explorers need certain characteristics, certain traits which makes them successful on any adventure. So what is the first character that is essential? They should be physically and mentally fit. They should have perseverance. They should be able to take a risk. They should have dedication. They should have the presence of mind. They should have determination. They should be courageous. They should have a sense of higher purpose. They should have endurance. They should have resilience. And finally, they should adapt to the surviving skills. Now, what was the reason for this expedition? That is, we are going to learn in this chapter. Emperors on Ice, that is, we are going to talk about the expedition to Antarctic. So, every expedition has a reason. Either it could be about colonization or certain kind of scientific research or research regarding biological or geological research. So anything, it could be about fossils. So every expedition has got certain goal, a certain reason. So what was the reason for this expedition to Antarctic? At that time, it was thought that the emperor penguin was one of the planet's most primitive birds, and that analysis of its embryos would reveal links between all birds and their reptile predecessors. So, obtaining the embryo of the emperor penguin was thought to be of extreme importance. So, this was the main reason that they wanted to go to Antarctic, because the emperor penguins stay and in these colder places, and you cannot find them anywhere. And being the primitive birds, they felt that if their embryos are analyzed, then they could find the links between the birds and the reptile predecessors. So for the ornithologist means those who have study the birds, it was a very, very important expedition. Okay, and the emperor penguins were found in these colder regions, and moreover they laid eggs only during the midwinter of the Atlantic. That was the challenge. Let's learn about the route map. Antarctica's first, they began Antarctica's Ross Island. Then their base camp was in Cape Evans. Then they went to the Penguins' Rookery, that is Cape Crozier on Ross Island. Then the Cape Crozier, which was 120 kilometers away from Cape Evans, they made it as the base camp. And they spent 6 weeks to travel from Cape Evans to Cape Crozier. So this was the route map of their journey, which we have learned, which we are going to learn in this chapter. Then who went for this exploration? That is, who went on this adventure? The explorers had the team of Lieutenant Henry Robertson Birdie Bowers, then Captain Scott, Edward Adrian, and Ansley Cherry Gerard. So these were the team of 4 who actually were responsible for this exploration, that is for this adventure expedition. But what were the challenges of the weather conditions in the to go on expedition to this place? The average temperature was 60 degrees Fahrenheit and it fell as low as minus 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Just imagine, minus 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And they had to go only during these low temperatures because the emperor penguins laid their eggs only during midwinters. It was freezing cold, pitch black and gale. As the continent was very cold continent and they hardly could find sunlight during those winter days. So that was one more challenge of the weather. Ice was moving and splitting the glass. So when they had to walk on the ice, sometimes they had to fall because the glass split. As if the glass splits, the ice keeps moving. And walking on such kind of on ice is very difficult. Antarctica is the coldest continent on Earth. The average temperature in the interior throughout the year is about minus 57 degrees centigrade, with the minimum temperature being minus 90 degrees centigrade during the winter season. So this was the temperature, minus 90 degrees centigrade, very difficult to survive. Antarctica has 6 months of daylight in summer and 6 months of darkness in winter. And as they had to go in winter, they had to move in the darkness. What were the struggles that they had gone through during this expedition? The explorers had to travel 120 kilometers in the freezing pitch black gale battered weather to Cape Crozier. They were suffering from frostbite. What do you mean by frostbite? When you have, because of the ice, okay, there are cuts all over your body, the skin. So, which is very, very, you can say, you cannot survive due to the frost bites. Okay, a little bit of winter here actually makes us feel quite uncomfortable, but just imagine at these temperatures, people, how did they survive with the frost bites? So that is a major concern. The sleep bag was frozen and they took 45 minutes to get into the sleep bag every night. So the only way they had to survive was in the sleep bag. Okay, and that too they took because as they left the sleep bag, it used to get frozen, and to get into that sleep bag, they had to take 45 minutes time. They started on 27th of June 1911 and left for their base camp. Okay, they almost took 2 9-foot long sledges with 757 pounds of supplies and equipment. Okay, and they mentioned it as the weirdest bird nesting expedition that has ever been or ever will be. That is how they explain this expedition. Okay. Emperor penguins were very hard to locate because you can see them in colonies only and they huddle with each other so that they keep themselves warm. Actually, emperor penguins are a type of penguins which are very unique, and they can only survive in this kind of atmosphere because they have got layers of fat and they huddle with each other so that they are very close to each other so that they remain warm. Okay, that is how they adapt to the atmosphere. Violent blizzard lashed while they were returning. So after collecting the eggs also, due to the violent blizzard, okay, they were much more in a problem. They had to face the blizzard, their tent blew away, their igloo's roof was broken, and therefore they had to survive without them in open. Okay, and they took the Terra Nova ship, okay, which sailed towards Cape Crozier in 1911. So the ship was ordered into the McMurdo Strait, and Scott's team arrived at Ross Island on 4th January 1911. Almost they began, you can say, they started in the month of August, and they finally stayed there till 4th January 1911. Okay, so earlier, prior to this expedition, they call it as the second expedition, because prior to this expedition, Captain Scott had already discovered this area. Yes, and only then he found out that the emperor penguin's rookery had these emperor eggs. Okay. What are the important points that you find in this chapter? What are the names of the explorers? Dr. Edward Wilson, Apsley Cherry, and Lieutenant Henry Robertson Birdie Bowers. These are the names of the explorers. And chief reason for undertaking the journey is securing the 3 emperor penguin eggs. Actually, they had taken 5 emperor penguin eggs, but they dropped 2 accidentally, and only 3 were left, which they later presented to the museum. What are the difficulties that they faced on the way? Bad weather, packed ice, the darkness of winter temperature below minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, crevasses on ice, frost bites, rookery in inaccessible places. The rookeries were very far away, because these emperor penguin eggs, they move very far from other habitation, and the violent blizzard. Finally, what was the mode of transportation? They took the Terra Nova, the ship that was reinforced from bow to stern with 7 feet of oak to protect against the Antarctic ice pack. So this was specially designed to move in the Antarctic ice pack. What did they face at their base camp? Their tent blew away, the igloo roof also blew away, and the explorers remained in their sleep bag for 2 days till their blizzard calmed down. They were physically injured by the extreme cold winter. The travel claimed the life of 2 of them. Means out of the explorers who went, 2 of them did not return alive. And the only person who returned was Cherry Garrard, who presented the 3 eggs to the American Museum of Natural History. So this journey is described as the worst journey. Okay, a travel book written by Cherry Garrard. He writes this as the worst journey. The journey at their base camp at the Cape Evans to Cape Crozier was the most difficult part of their journey, because they had to walk 120 kilometers in darkness, just imagine, in the temperature below minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, with 2 sleds of food and equipment and a clock, plowing snow in darkness. Means it was pitch dark, and they had to move in this pitch darkness towards the rookery. So this is what is the lesson all about, that why the expedition has been taken up, who were the explorers, and when did they start their exploration, where did they reach, and finally were they successful in taking the emperor penguin eggs or not, and the reason why they had taken the emperor penguin eggs, was it really, it was that they wanted to know the link between the embryos would provide the link between the reptiles and the birds. But these emperor penguin eggs which were presented to them were of no use for this research. But anyways, they were happy, because these penguin eggs were very important for some biological study and reinterpretation. So in that sense, they were very, very valuable. So this journey, which was described as the worst journey in the world. Okay? So why do you think this title is apt? Why is it called the emperors on ice? Why emperors? You know, children, emperors are unique. Kings, there would be many kings, but there would be only one emperor. Okay, so these penguins, many types of penguins are there, but these are the emperor penguins. They are unique kind of penguins. Okay, the title emperors on ice refers to the emperor penguins who live in the Antarctic polar region. Also, emperors on ice were not only the penguins. The emperors on ice were also these explorers. Why they are called as explorers? Because they were very brave to explore this kind of continent in the midwinter season. So the title also refers to the brave scientists who went for Antarctica. They were the emperors for having braved the extreme weather conditions to acquire the eggs. So here the emperors on ice are both the emperor penguins as well as the brave scientists. Okay. So hope you all have understood this chapter. Now we'll talk about the vocabulary section. What are the new words that we have come across in this chapter? Slog means work hard. Rookery, an area where penguins mate, nest and so the penguins are and raise their chicks. Their chicks are raised here. Instigated means started. Genesis means origin. Ornithological, relating to birds. Floes, large floating areas of ice. Pack ice, large mass of ice formed from smaller pieces. Prefabricated, made in parts that can be assembled later. Cloying, here annoying because there is too much snow. Cadaverous means very pale and sick. So these are corrugated, here wrinkled and scarred. So these are the new words that we have come across in this chapter. So you all need to learn the meanings of these words and use them in your own sentences while communicating to improve your vocabulary. I hope you all have understood this chapter, children. It's a very simple chapter telling us how important traveling is and an expedition to unlikely destination, that is, which is not a common destination. Okay, and what are the certain characteristics or traits of such kind of explorers and how hard they struggle for such kind of adventures. Okay, thank you children, and complete your exercises in the textbook and have a good day.